You are listening to Down Home. You want to jump right into it?
Yeah, man. Why not?
All right. Welcome to Down Home, the Nova Scotian experience from two black men. I am Derek Wyse, and as always, we have Jay Jones.
He forgot my name.
No, I didn't, man.
I'm just kidding. It's all good. What's happening, y'all?
Yeah, man. So anyone that follows us has noticed that the content is slowed down a bit. So we're coming towards the end of I always try to avoid calling it seasons, but honestly, it's the end of this season.
Yeah.
And you know, we usually cover a lot of really heavy content. So I thought we would end something on a potentially lighter note, depending on what questions Jay Jones is picked. But we're going to ask each other 4 separate questions. So this could go anywhere. We haven't revealed the questions to each other, so this is right off the cuff. Off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
All right.
So who wants to go first? You know what? I'm gonna go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you forgot my name. But just kidding. All right. All right, man. We started this podcast in 2020. Now, 3 years later, after COVID, after 62 episodes, how has the Down Home podcast changed you? And how has that change inspired you? It's kind of a 2-part question.
Okay. So Jay's going deep on the off the tip, man. All right. How's it changed me? I think I have more refined thoughts about my blackness. Of course, I've always had considered the fact that I am black, of course, but learning more about and having conversations about our history and having conversations with other prominent black people about their thoughts, I have more refined thoughts about my blackness. Yeah, that's how it's really changed me. What was the second part again?
And how has that change inspired you?
Well, it's really lit a fire for moving forward. I want to tell more stories. Yeah. Cool. I really do want to tell more stories, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that wasn't that deep. That was
that's deep, man.
Yeah, true. But you know, when you think about it, man, 3 years is a long time, and
it is.
62 episodes. That's a long time, and a lot of work has gone into it. So, through those times, you learn a lot about yourself. I think, and I was just curious how you felt about that. Yeah.
True. All right, my turn.
Yep.
So I'm not that deep there, but anyway. All right. 72 Lakers versus the 96 Bulls. Who wins in a 7-game series? The 72 Lakers. And the refresher. West. Yeah, okay. I was going to refresh your memory, but I don't have to.
Gail Goodrich, Elgin Baylor,
Wilt
the Stilt, and some. I think Jamel. I don't know if Jamel Wilkes was there. Bob McAdoo. Maybe.
Bob McAdoo.
I'm sure,
all
but anyway,
Hall of Famers, man. All Hall of Famers. And if for those who don't know, the 96 Bulls, you got Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and a cast of characters.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one.
Now, the other thing is the 72 Lakers had the best record for the longest time at 72-10.
Yeah.
Until the Bulls came along and beat that at 72-10.
Actually, it was 69-13.
Sorry, 69-13.
Yeah, right. But during that season, I think they won 33 games in a row. Which is probably the longest streak.
And the Bulls won. I think it was 20-something at that time. Yeah.
One question I'm going to ask you: where's the 3-point? Because the 3-point line wasn't in the NBA then, right?
Modern day 3-pointer.
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna. Ooh, that's a tough one. But oh man,
I guess I did go deep there, man.
Yeah, no, that is really deep. Modern day, I'm gonna give it to my Lakers.
Really? And why?
Just more depth. You know, even though Wilt was on the downside of his career, he was still averaging like 20 rebounds a game and even led the league in assists one year with the
He
Lakers.
did.
It might have been even that year. And I think you know, I think Goodrich and West has the range to hit those threes because
Yeah, they do.
Mr. Clutch was hitting half
Yeah.
court shots on the
Yeah,
regular.
yeah. I get that.
So, and I think, and Elgin Baylor, the most underrated player, I think, in a lot of circles because he just doesn't get the notoriety. And he was like the first sort of athletic forward
Yeah.
besides, but like more elegant, like Jordan was, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah, yeah.
he never got that sort of recognition. He was in his prime. The
Yeah.
Lakers were in their prime. Mr. Clutch, the logo was in his prime.
All right. All right.
You know,
That's a tough one, but you
yeah,
know, anyone who knows me knows who I'm gonna pick.
yeah.
Yeah, my Bulls. But anyway, all right.
Uh, all right.
Your turn, man.
Well, now, you know, I did have some deep questions, so I'm going to change it up. I'm going to change it up just
You
off
don't
the
have to
cuff.
change it up. Go deep,
No,
man. Go deep.
okay, well, all right, all right. Well, I'll try to mix in some other things too. All right. Well, first off, I'm going to say, this is a good question. What is something you learned about Black history that you didn't know before? Like, you know, we come from a system that didn't always show. You know, we always mention, oh, there was something about the Maroons, a little blurb, a little this, a little that. But what is something you learned from doing all these episodes and talking to different people and them sharing their history and it being passed? You know, and you know, we even had a good family barbecue last week where an elder of yours was talking about some of his history, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so what is something that you learned about Black history that you
Hmm.
didn't know before?
Well, I think it was one of our scripted podcasts that kind of taught me the most because we had to go deep and actually do our own research.
Yeah,
And I think it was the Sierra Leone episode
right.
I think we named it from Halifax to Freetown.
Yes,
That
yes.
episode, like
Yeah.
just the how deep and how resourceful the black loyalists were,
Mhm.
and the fact that they would not settle,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
led a large portion of them to say, hey, you know, if the British government at the time was not treating them well,
Yeah.
and for them to say, hey, you know, we're not going to take this, we're going to go look for what we want.
Mhm.
That's a part of black history that I didn't know,
Yeah. No,
honestly. Yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good one, man. Yeah.
Hmm. All
Cool.
right. I do have some deeper questions, but
Okay. You
all
want to
right.
save those to last probably
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you know how I go down the rabbit hole.
All right. Black Thought or Rakim?
Good one, DC Wise.
Mm.
Damn. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Rakim.
You're gonna say Rakim? That's surprising, man.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say Rakim only because man, he was just the foundation for
He
all
was.
these. He was like for these MCs of bringing lyrical content, and Black Thought is kind of a blueprint for that now. And
Hmm.
I'll give him mad props for doing that. Nas is kind of like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Like these storytellers that were so good, and the fact that I learned how Rakim wrote his rhymes he was a very good, he was obsessed with John Coltrane, and he was a very good saxophonist,
Hmm.
so he tried to write his rhymes as if he was playing the sax.
Right.
So you know, and he
Yeah,
would,
yeah.
and that advanced you know, sort of lyrically it advanced hip hop, and the content he was talking about was
Oh, yeah.
so different. And you know, so I'm going to give it to them, just give it to him because he was a forefather, and I don't want
Hmm.
him to be forgotten. But Black Thought and all those MCs, but Black Thought especially, it's a very good comparison,
Oh,
is
yeah.
carrying on that legacy as well.
Definitely,
And
man.
but I would tend to say but on the off note, I would say I'm I would tend to lean to Black Thought's lyrical content.
His content, yes,
I
yeah,
connect with that more.
yeah, of
But
course.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
But,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna throw something at you. I'm gonna say uh Biggie Smalls or okay, all right.
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls or your favorite rapper.
Or my
Or
favorite rapper.
is that a cop out?
No,
I
no,
just
it's
can't
not.
remember. Yeah.
No, it's not. It would depend on the period of my life, to be honest, man. So, but
Ah,
if you
that's
want to go
interesting.
back to the '90s,
Hmm.
in that period of time,
Yeah.
I was deep into Tupac, man.
Okay.
I was deep into Tupac. That the ghetto poet. I was
Hmm.
deep into him,
Yeah.
and I didn't appreciate Biggie. I
Right.
didn't appreciate Biggie until later on in life, to be honest,
Hmm.
when well past his death, like
No.
in probably in my 30s
Yeah.
is when I started to appreciate Biggie. And I think the reason I didn't appreciate Biggie was because I didn't listen to a lot of his early stuff.
Hmm.
I listened to his popular Puff Daddy
Bad
stuff,
bad boy era.
Bad Boy
Yeah.
stuff. And
Which
I
is
did not listen to his because his early stuff was hard, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I didn't appreciate him until later, although I was quite up on him very, very early. I was like,
Mm.
one of the songs was Who's on the Who's the Man soundtrack. It was
Yeah.
called Party and Bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this is pretty cool. And
Mm.
it sort of had that sort of street cred and
Yeah,
silly rhyme flow, kind of like Eminem
yeah,
coming up as well, but making it his own. And then, of course, he went the player way.
yeah.
He went the Big Papa way, which he could hold his own.
Which made him
But
cash.
yeah, but his songs were more crafted for certain things.
Yeah,
But when
exactly.
he was raw, like rapping on the corner of Bed-Stuy,
Mm.
he was a I'll give him. I didn't listen to his. I don't know if I like a lot of his albums,
Yeah.
but
But his
uh,
early stuff was it was
yeah,
hard, it was gangster, and I was
yeah,
into that though
yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah,
time. It's just that I
yeah,
didn't hear it because a
yeah,
lot of the
yeah, yeah.
stuff was underground at that time, right? A lot of his
Yeah,
early stuff was underground. It was
yeah,
not for why. And once you got the digital music coming through,
yeah.
that's when all of his early stuff started coming out, and I
Started
said,
coming
"Oh
out.
yeah, man, Biggie,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah. And one of our guests, Kevin
mm,
Yard, he's a big Biggie fan. So
big
shout out to
Biggie
Kevin
fan."
Yard. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, my turn, my turn. Now
yep.
this is a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Okay, and it's sort of like one of the questions that you asked earlier, but
Hmm.
what is the most valuable thing that you've learned about yourself over the 3 years of Down Home?
Damn, that's deeper than the abyss.
Yeah.
So sorry, just say that one more time.
What is the most valuable thing that you've learned about yourself over 3 years of Down Home?
Um, I think one of the biggest things that I gained from all this was, you know, some of it has been sort of going back and interviewing family. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, at times in my life, I felt very disconnected. And uh, I think going back and interviewing them, it made me face some things that nothing to do with them. It was my own sort of things.
Mhm.
And, it made me look at, at sometimes, I felt disconnected, but now having these conversations, I was able to connect with them and understand them and come from a different perspective of some of the things that I had thought before,
Yeah.
and just families' resilience,
Mhm.
just specifically just being black and hearing their stories and the things that they came from. It sort of helped me on my journey, believe it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I find that a valuable thing because I think at the end of the day, thorough knowledge of self is how you become a stronger person and connecting to our family roots, no
Mhm.
matter what they were or where they came from and how good or bad they are. It's important to know your history,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we all share that same history. So I think it's
Mhm,
valuable to forgive some things
mhm.
and move on from some things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Good answer, man, good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right. So now we've often talked about, um, you know, Canadian racism isn't really seen that much because of the fact that we always look through the lens of the American, right? And,
Mhm.
in the media and stuff. And I think on some levels, people always associate that with what's going on in Canada, kind of gets lost in the mist of what it does actually have,
Yeah.
and it has some of those, it has just as much. Now, what how do you think, by seeing that, now we always talk, sorry, this question might come out confusing because I didn't really have it right around, I just have written down, I just have points, but
Mhm.
with how do you think people move on from what exists today? Now, we often talk about how having thorough knowledge of self empowers you, knowing your history.
Yeah.
And blacks have always been good at that, finding out their history, even though a lot of it wasn't available. Now, from a white perspective, now, don't you think we as black people have to look at sort of the whiteness side of where that comes from, and the whites also have to look at their own whiteness and their own role
Mhm.
in the way racism has expanded today? Now, do you think that would help eradicate some things if people?
Yeah, 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 I think there's 2 aspects to that what you're talking about.
Hmm.
I think number 1 is knowledge and, well, 2 parts of number 1 is knowledge and education.
Hmm.
So you can't really form an opinion about something if you don't know about it. So if
Right.
you, and unfortunately, these are things that have to be self-directed. So someone that is white would have to actually search out and learn from credible resources about the black community or about people of color to actually form an opinion and actually know about them.
Hmm.
And then once they do know about the blackness in their community, the second part of that is not necessarily acceptance, but tolerance.
Hmm.
So once you have those two sides of it, I think we move forward and we move forward quite well. Because
Yeah.
tolerance is key. I don't have to be. I don't think they have to be my best friends. Some white people, like we have a
Hmm.
lot of white people around us in it that are friends, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But, I don't have to be friends with everyone that I walk past the street.
Yeah.
What I do expect is tolerance, though.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
expect that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what we've had for quite a long time in Canada is tolerance
Hmm.
for our diversity.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
been a huge amount of tolerance until recently, and I think, the crap that's going on in the States has a lot to do with the growing lack of tolerance in Canada.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think those are the 2 things that we need to move forward and everyone's lives to improve from that aspect, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, that's a great answer. Thanks
Yeah,
for that. Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Uh,
So last question.
yeah, do it.
Last question, number 4. Um, it doesn't have to be, it has to be a specific episode. You don't have to remember the name of it or whatever,
Mhm.
but name an episode or a guest that has changed your mind about a topic. I'll say that again. Name an episode or a guest that has actually changed your mind about a particular topic.
Um, I think the one we did with George Eliot Clark was
Really?
really good, just because he was spewing the history and
Hmm.
how it was all connected, and how, you know, of especially from the point of the Atlantic slave trade,
Mhm.
that's what I found really opened my eyes to. I mean, I knew a little bit about it, I knew all of it, but just the sort of, it was very calculated. It was
Yeah.
very like, and it was all for money with no care of, you know, obviously black people caught up in the Atlantic slave trade, but also all the other countries, man, who were doing the same thing, maybe to and usually people of color, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, uh, and it just sort of opened my eyes to the hierarchy of life sometimes, and the way people want to have control over people, and all for the greater good of their bank, or just power and control.
Mhm.
And and just how that narrative, of course, is carried forward and forward and forward, and why we're still in the same things today, and just some of these systemic things that get placed in front of us that we can't break free of, because they became laws, or in our charters of rights, like they became rules in society that don't dictate uh personal freedoms. In the scope of things, everyone has it, but really they don't. It's just a piece of paper
Yeah, yeah.
stating the fact, but the actions don't. What is it? The actions are louder than the words, you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Out of
yeah.
that. And I think that was a big eye opener to me, not only the depths of racism, yeah, and how far it has come to be what it is, just out of those things. Like, it's led to so much, heartache and pain,
Mhm.
and systemic things like economic, everything, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And and not only just everybody who's not rich,
Mhm.
so it makes me go, wow, I never really thought about it in those contexts,
Mhm.
and these are histories that aren't. And that's the other thing. These are histories I had to learn from a man who's well versed in
Yeah.
history, but it's not like I can get it in the education system, and that's even still happening today. I know things are changing, but like I said, it goes back to, can people look at their whiteness, like, why can't we have all that sort of horrible stuff that happened in our history books, so
Yeah.
both people can see, and then
Yeah,
maybe we
yeah.
can have some compassion for each other. We have compassion for each other now in a weird way, because these are topics of conversations on everyone's mind.
Mhm.
But we got to I think we got to dig a little bit deeper, but not to get too off topic. Him sort of started that trigger effect for all
Okay.
those things for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was, I think he was a great guest,
Yeah.
honestly, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
was gonna end it with, or did I do my 4 already?
you did
I think I
4,
did.
man. But
Damn, I was all
what
excited.
what did you
Just
have
your same thing, one of the episodes that stood out to you.
that stood out this season? Honestly, to be honest, it was surprising. Well, not surprising. I knew he was going to be well versed, but Curtis Brooks Lung,
Oh, yeah, yep.
he like we specifically asked him about the Atlantic slave trade, and some of the knowledge he was dropping about that was quite interesting.
Mhm, yes.
Um, and I think it added a bit more depth
Yeah.
to my knowledge about that.
Mhm.
And it was surprising, actually,
Yeah.
because we and the other thing is that he was one of the guests that we didn't know personally, so we didn't quite know what we were gonna get
Yeah.
going in, and it was a
Yeah.
pleasant surprise
Yeah, it's
about
true,
the
and
amount of knowledge that he had, right? So
yeah, yeah, and
mhm.
same with, Joanne Doucette. I thought that was a good
Yeah,
episode,
that was good.
just because we didn't know her and the knowledge she
Mhm.
had of that, and the connection she had to Nova Scotia, and,
Yeah.
in all of it, like, even in the journey, Nova Scotia is connected to a lot of Black history,
Mhm.
whether it's the place that people came from to escape slavery as free or enslaved people,
Yeah.
and the Black loyalists that came and did their things, like you said.
Mhm.
And this was the place that people came to start a new life, and
Mhm.
the connection to that everyone finds is pretty cool with all the
Yeah.
guests that we have had.
Definitely, man. Well,
Yeah,
there's more stories to tell, and
yeah, for sure.
so as I stated, at the beginning, we're going to be entering our usual summer hiatus.
Yep.
We'd like to thank everyone for listening in and viewing on YouTube, as well as our listeners over our various audio podcast channels. We've got more stories to tell, so we're gonna work on another set of episodes coming up in next year.
Yep.
Which would be our 4th year doing the podcast, which is surprising.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, thanks to everyone listening, and it's always been fun and to learn so much, and to even sort of open those doors of being able to be one of the people where we come from and tell this and continue the story of the legacy that was left. And I can speak for Derek that it's become a passion, and it just brings forth something I've always done. And even doing this podcast had inspired my poetry over the years as well. So just to increase that ability to tell those stories and express myself with some of the topics that we have, to put it there, it's just been a great thing. And we can't do it without the people who listen. So thanks very much.
Stay tuned.
Word. Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground.
You have been listening to Down Home. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk, getting lost in the flow. Contact with the spot magex. Now it's time to flex with the force from the soul, reaching all aspects, getting deep, no time to sleep. As you reach your next phase, laying it all on the line. New trails start to blaze. It's a fire inside, a brand new path, breaking down the sum to one.
The song "Breaking New Ground" from The Breakdown.
Transcribe with the vibe like magic prescribed. Only to see the perfect blend, like a diamond in the rough, ready to drop a perfect gem. It's time to shine, so fine to see what you find. Revelation.